Yes, people, what is happening? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the pole position pod on A in Sports. Apologies for the delay, but we are live. Got the Qatar Grand Prix preview today. Also, just gonna quickly talk about the sprint race. Quickly talk about the sprint race. Oscar Piastri winning that one and whatnot. On your way, people, hit the like button. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Let's get to 520 subscribers. We're 8 subs away. And subscribe to Renvia Talks Racing. I'll put the link in the chat. And big up to you guys, Augustia and Renvia. Hope you guys are well. And yeah, let's get cracking.
Yeah, Ekvin, it will be a monumental day, be a historic day for sure. As we talked about, Qatar is a quali oriented race, but the one thing that matters equally, if not more than quali, is the start, right? The start is the most crucial component of the race, as we've all said. Ekvin, you've been on this for a long time as well here, and if you look at our top three, it's the top three gunning for the championship. So that start will be crucial. And as Max Verstappen says, he has nothing to lose at all. He literally has nothing to lose. And I think there's a quote. It could be, I didn't verify it, but it does sound like a Max quote. He said, "No, he's not disappointed. He's starting next to other cars. He said they should be disappointed they're starting next to him." So I think he really is gunning for the Ayrton Senna, the Michael Schumacher, that picturesque borderline crash. That's what he's gonna do, and he doesn't care what happens. He's just gonna aim for that T1 win, and it's possible. And with Lando Norris as well, he has to be aggressive. Um, but it will really be the start and the two pit stops. If you can undercut your opponent, that'd be nice. But how much can whoever comes out in turn one, how much time can they gain in free air? So really the start will be the most important thing and avoiding any errors. And whoever leads from turn one will probably win the race.
Renvia?
Max Verstappen is starting from P3 in the main race. Last year, Lando Norris started in P3, yeah. So it was George Russell in P. He got pole position because Max Verstappen got a one-place grid penalty, and then so Max Verstappen was second and Lando Norris was third. So Lando Norris evaded George Russell, no problem, and he was alongside Max Verstappen, and he should have taken the lead of the race from P3, but he's too timid. And if that's Max Verstappen, he's going to take the lead, and he's a cleaner driver than what we give him credit for. He hasn't done war crimes like Lewis Hamilton did at Silverstone. 51 G-force crash. 51 G-force crash, gunning for the championship. He's never done anything like that to Charles Leclerc or Lewis Hamilton or Lando Norris's three championship rivals that he's had in Formula One so far. So I want to see a crash today. Ayrton Senna versus Alain Prost in Suzuka 1990. Alain Prost versus Ayrton Senna in Suzuka in 1989. Jacques Villeneuve versus Michael Schumacher in Jerez in 1997. We need to see a picturesque crash that we talk about for generations. This dirty driver coming to life, and we need to see a crash today. I want to see a crash. I want to see a big collision, man. Big pile-up.
Yeah. Ferris. Big up Lumen, who's already here. Big up to you, bro. But yeah, I can't lie to you. I think of all the drivers that we predicted to be favorites to win the race going into the weekend, I think none of us predicted Oscar Piastri to win. None of us even gave Oscar Piastri a chance.
I did. I said he'd win the sprint race, I think.
No, I'm talking about just the
Yeah,
weekend.
to be fair, Ekvin, you and I were the only ones saying he was still in the championship fight. Do you remember last week we both were talking about how Oscar Piastri should be included?
I remember I said it, but I think you definitely said it for sure.
No. When I was going through, we have a clip where I was talking about the three championship rivals.
Oh, right.
I mentioned Oscar Piastri, and King's like, you don't need to do it. It's a two-horse race between Max and Lando. And then Ekvin, you jumped in and is like, no, even though Oscar Piastri's out of form, objectively, he's still in the conversation. So
points total, yeah, exactly.
You can claim a win on that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, like, we're just saying it as it is, but at the same time, look, Oscar Piastri is back on top at the right time. Let's just be real. He's on top at the right time, because think about it. Like, if we're looking at just pure overall, like, pace in the last few weeks, he was nowhere near the conversation. He wasn't anywhere in the conversation. Last week, we saw what happened to both McLarens and what happened to their car last week. They've now gained I think Oscar Piastri gained 2 points on Max Verstappen now, or 3 points on Max Verstappen, and Lando Norris gained 1 because he finished a place above Verstappen. So the gap's now 25. But listen, it was an interesting sprint race, though, to say the least. Regardless of obviously Oscar Piastri winning it, like aside from that, was it Lando Norris got 3rd or 4th? I don't remember what it was. Was it 3rd or 4th? I couldn't remember.
In the sprint,
Yeah.
Yeah, sprint race. Yeah,
he finished 3rd on the podium.
3rd, and Verstappen finished right behind him. That's not really the response I wanted from. I think Lando Norris should have given, despite the overtaking zones and everything, despite all that, in the Qatar Grand Prix in terms of the sprints. I don't think that's the response I would have got from Lando Norris and Max Verstappen. Do I think Oscar Piastri is still, can he still win it? Of course. But the response that Lando Norris and Max Verstappen gave, I was a bit surprised, to say the least. I was a little bit surprised. I expected a bit more from Verstappen. I thought he'd finish maybe like 2nd, or at least, compete for the top seat. But listen, you can't expect much when obviously it's qualifying time. So that's on Verstappen. He should have been a bit faster in one of the sectors. He went 2nd fastest or 3rd fastest at one point, and then he fell off because of, like I said, the time that I think George Russell got in the sprint qualifying. What was it, like 0.4 of a second? Especially last night as well, in the actual qualifying to Norris or to Piastri. I think the gap from Verstappen to Piastri was 0.4 of a second. So yeah, no, I can't lie to you. It's been an interesting sprint race. Anyone want to add on the sprint race?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the sprint race was quite revealing in the sense of there is basically no overtaking opportunities. Of course, turn 1 and then turn 6 you can overtake, but you really need to be within 0.3 of the car ahead of you. And with potential DRS trains and then being within dirty air, it is going to be very difficult to muster an overtake on this circuit. So I think that's one of the bigger takeaways. Second, obviously, is tire degradation. Tire degradation will be a problem. So a 2-stop. That's why Pirelli, I'm sure, implemented the 2-stop strategy, not really for entertainment as well, but also those tire concerns. And then the third thing is Mercedes can compete. Mercedes have pace. Both Russell and Antonelli have pace, right? Antonelli's been in form, so I'm sure he will be somewhat solid on a race pace wise. And I think he got one of the few, if not the only, overtake in the sprint, overtaking Fernando Alonso. And then obviously Mercedes can compete, so we'll see what happens. I think strategy will be very important. You will need to subvert the status quo. But yeah, when it comes to the sprint, Max got a good couple of overtakes initially. Obviously, Yuki Tsunoda wouldn't fight, but he got past Fernando Alonso. And after that, it was a bit of a struggle. It was a fight between him and the car before a fight between him and Lando Norris. But now the car looks a little bit more attuned to what he desires. And for him, it's lights out and let's become a legend again on the circuit and basically nuke the shit out of Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. That's what Max is going to do tonight. And for Oscar, look, he just needs to consolidate and he will win. But yeah, I mean, turn 1 could decide the championship. That's how big it is, right? Because if Lando comes out on top, he wins the championship. If Max DNFs Lando, Oscar might end up being first heading into Abu Dhabi. It's just a lot can happen here.
Yeah, so Max Verstappen qualified in 3rd, which was 0.3 off Piastri's pole position time. And did you see George Russell there? George Russell, when he was going out of pits, he got out of pits so slowly. So when Lando Norris was on his final flying lap, he had to abort it. And then when he came around the grid again, he came around the first turn again to start finish straight. He couldn't have started another lap. So his second to last lap was his banker lap that made him qualify 2nd place. So masterful from George Russell there. I'm sure yesterday before the sprint race, Toto Wolff and Max Verstappen were conversing. Maybe he said, "I'm going to help you." So George Russell, I think he really doesn't want Lando Norris's countryman to win the World Championship because they need one ups him in the Formula One space where that's all that matters. And if we look at qualifying here, Hadjar qualifies sixth, Antonelli fifth, Russell fourth, 0.011 seconds. He qualified behind Verstappen in third place. Carlos Sainz in seventh, Fernando Alonso eighth, Pierre Gasly in ninth, and Charles Leclerc 10th. Charles Leclerc, by the way, sprint race yesterday, absolutely woeful. Yesterday, he was in 13th place.
Yeah.
He wasn't even a second. He wasn't even within a second gap of Oliver Behrman in front of him, and he's just making unforced errors. He just kept going off the circuit. He went off circuit 3 times. You don't. How can you have that? Unforced errors, unforeseen errors, and you're just going off the circuit. Absolutely terrible.
Big up, Josh.
Big up
Wow.
Big up
What
the
a W comment for Joseph Risborough, yeah. I didn't think Josh could spit facts. Wow. I'm impressed. Sorry, go on, Ranveer, about Charles Leclerc having his adventure.
and Hamilton not making it out of Q1. So that's just to be expected at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, this Josh and me team up is Superman and Lex Luthor. That's what it is. He's the Lex Luthor, and we're ganging up on the bigger threat in Ranveer. W, Josh. But no, I agree with you, Ranveer. I think the blessing in disguise for Charlie Leclerc is, as you said, Hamilton. Because yes, Leclerc made a bunch of unforced errors and went off the track a bunch of times. We don't really know how fast that Ferrari car really is. That's the problem, because Lewis Hamilton is probably is the worst driver over the last 2 races, right? Is that too far-fetched to say? In terms of pure performance relative to the machinery that you're in, Lewis Hamilton has probably been the worst driver over the past few weeks on merit.
Back-to-back Q1 exits, like, yeah, of course.
Actually, Akavin, it's 3 in a row if you include the
SQ1 as well.
Yeah, sprint here.
Actual race, but okay, sure. Yeah, disgusting. Not by Lewis Hamilton, but by Ferrari to not help him build his car.
I mean, both. I mean, as much as I love Lewis Hamilton.
Lewis was checked out, and I understand why.
Yeah, but that's the problem. It's still Ferrari. It's still a seat with millions of dollars on the line. You can't check out that much. Like, I know last season you checked out. That's fine, no problem. But you still need to be somewhat competitive. And of course,
the biggest brand in the sport. Of course, you have to be competitive.
Yeah, biggest brand driver wise, biggest brand team wise. It's coming together, and this is the output. I mean, if Hamilton was winning, you think about a lot more money Ferrari could make, and Hamilton could make personally. It's crazy.
Yeah, but as you said, overtaking is basically you have to be within 5/10 when you get DRS. And yesterday, Max Verstappen tried a lunge deep, and then he just didn't try another lunge again because he couldn't get close to Norris in front of him because of the dirty air. So today he's gonna have to do a massacre today. P3, starting P3, he needs to crash Norris out of the race. Basically, I think we need to see him crash Norris, because in the World Championship, when you see these drivers, you see Senna, you see Posson, you see Schumacher, and you see Villeneuve in the heat of the battle. They crash their opponents out. That's how much they want to win. They don't care about death. Death doesn't phase them. They got the halo, they got the roll hoop, they got the skid plate, whatever on top of the car. They're gonna be fine. But we need to see a crash that we talk about for generations, because this is a heat of the World Championship battle, and he was downplaying the fact that if I win 5 World Championships as compared to 4, it doesn't really change much. Well, it does, because you're alongside one Manuel Fangio. You're in a league. You're in a league of only.
The only thing that could lead to their downfall is death. Is the weight of their car.
What do you mean?
If they go over the limit, or if they go under the limit, that could be their downfall. That's the only thing. Obviously, you were talking about the plate. You were talking about the how do you say it? You talk about all the halo and everything like that, right? But you talk about protection and everything like that, yeah, as well. But the one thing that could lead to their downfall is the FIA decision making and the weight of the car. That's it. You can have all that, but if you don't design the car in the right regulations, you're fucked.
Maybe that's Ferrari, but we were talking about there's 3 front runners in the World Championship here. So
No. It's a good point from Ekman. It just caught me off guard because I was like, I don't know when Revere mentioned any of that, but it's actually a very good point here.
No.
It's a clippable point.
Revere mentioned something about the plate of the
there's a skid hoop on top of the car. That's what I'm on about.
That's what you meant. But
Yeah.
you can have all that and protect you from the from getting hurt in the race. But what could hurt you really is the FIA's decision making.
So are you foreshadowing a George Russell and Spa in 2024 scenario here where McLaren's car is underweight?
I'm talking about last week. I'm talking about last week, bro.
That was underweight. That was the measurements on the skid plate on the bottom of the car plank.
I mean, I get Ekman's overarching point. It's just
team
make sure Ekman's point is make sure the car is within the regulations here.
Yeah,
and don't leave any room for ambiguity. And it's right. It sounds like it shouldn't need to be said, but it does because McLaren made that rookie mistake. So of course it's something to watch out. But I do believe all three drivers their cars will be fine. I don't think they'll be.
Norris had to take out a new floor this week for LaSalle, so I think they might make another mistake or they run the car too low. Who knows, man?
Yeah, I agree. And look, I think Verstappen turn 1, he should do it. He should go because it's not charity; it's a conquest. And look, the media have a perception of Verstappen, anyways, right? They have a perception that he is Mr. Crash Stappen. I know our own panelist has that perception, King, right? But it doesn't matter. Like, who cares? That's the one thing about Max Verstappen. He does not let any of these narratives distract him at all. If anything, he will play into it just to win. Like, Max is a shithouse like that. So, look. I'm not going to say crash them, but I'm also going to say do what it takes to win. That's what I would tell Max if I was in his garage. And because odds are you're not going to hurt Lando Norris or Oscar Piastri. You're not going to hurt them. You're going to win. And with how these cars are designed, now I'm talking like Ekman about the design of the car. But with the halo, I think Max will be fine here.
Yeah. Like what Verstappen did to Hamilton in Monza in 2021. I think that's the worst thing he's done in his career in terms of war crimes or stuff he's done to win the World Championship. Like what he did to Leclerc in Austria in 2019, that's not really bad because he just pushed him off the track. What he did to Norris in Mexico in 2024, he just pushed him off the track. In Texas in 2024, pushed him off the track. In Austria in 2024, pushed him off the track. So basically, what we're seeing here is the worst things he's done is Raikkonen in Spa in 2017 or 2016, whatever. The worst things he's done, really, in terms of if you look at war crime of him being dirty driver, is him pushing his opponents off the track and being first at the apex and bending the rule book in his favour in terms of the first to the apex rule. But he hasn't really done anything where he's endangering another opponent's life or trying to hurt them or trying to
conduct any form of malice.
Trying to collide into them in a way where their car or themselves is debilitated. But today I want to see.
I don't want to see. Sorry, go on.
Go on.
No, what do you want to see? I want to hear this, yeah.
I want to see a collision, him into Norris today. And you basically what Hamilton did to him in Silverstone 2021, where his car's perfectly fine. He carries on in the race, but his opponent goes flying into the wall. That's what I want to see.
I agree with you. He needs to conduct something like that. I was going to say, you mentioned Apex. I'm going to mention Apex team, Sonny Hayes and Joshua Pierce. Max Verstappen hasn't done anything as ravaged as they have, right? Even Sonny Hayes has bent the rule book far more than Verstappen did when he was in Formula One. So I agree with you. I think Verstappen's reputation is obviously, again, overstated. Because you talk about the way people gloat over Ayrton Senna and Michael Schumacher. I know I spoke to King about this as well. I was like, isn't there a bit of hypocrisy when you talk about Max Verstappen not being a GOAT because of his discipline record, whereas you consider Schumacher and Senna better? when Schumacher and Senna are obviously far more culprits, far more culpable for chaos and collision, and literally deciding championships based off that with full malice. So, look, I think that Max Verstappen today, he can do it, and it doesn't really matter. Like all the legends, Schumacher, Senna, you mentioned Hamilton as well. They've all been involved in some sort of collision. So just do it, and you need to. It's now or never. No time for fun and games. It's time for just facts
100%.
and greatness.
Back in COVID, playing video games with Lando Norris on the simulator, that doesn't matter because off the track, you might be best buddies. Yeah, on the track, you do whatever it takes to win because of the journey it took there to get there, the investment, the amount of funding, the amount of time you spent away from school, the amount of time it took for you to compete in karting championships and single-seater championships. So it's all on the line today. Lando Norris could win his first title ever. The rookie that could become the world champion. The world champion one day. The other day I had a rant here basically. Mate, not everyone who comes onto the Formula 1 grid as a rookie is ever going to be world champion or even taste a Formula 1 world championship winning car, a title competing car. So, guys in the media, journalists. So, basically, yeah, today it's all on the line. Oscar Piastri, who won the Formula 3 championship and the Formula 2 championship in consecutive years, and he also won the Formula Renault Euro Cup series. So,
I mean, look, if like you talked about a lot on the line tonight, for Verstappen as well, especially, it's a must win for him because if he doesn't win, that could be him out of the championship fight completely.
If Verstappen doesn't finish above Lando Norris, he's officially out.
Because don't forget, he sprint race to Norris by a point. So that means now it's 25 points maximum now for a race to overtake him. Let's say Verstappen does win and Norris gets a DNF. Then sure. But at the moment, Oscar Piastri has the bigger chance to catch Lando Norris. At the moment, it's like what 23 points difference, 23 points different.
Yeah, 22 must be 22, right?
Must be around 22, 23 points. But regardless, yeah. And also you mentioned last week that Lando Norris has and Oscar Piastri have. Well, Oscar Piastri has a better head-to-head record when coming up against Lando Norris at the Qatar Grand Prix. It is his track. It benefits the grip of his car, benefits the grip of, of his race because he does have the ability to stay in front. It's hard to overtake Oscar Piastri when you're behind. You know what I'm trying to say? Once you're behind Oscar Piastri, it's hard to overtake him, especially in Qatar. Like I said, there's only two overtaking zones, really, if you're looking at it from a standpoint. It's only really like two really good how do you say it? Two really good overtaking zones, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, proper overtaking zones. Like I said, turn 6 and turn... Wait, is it turn 16 or what? Turn 16.
Turn 1 and turn 6.
Turn 6, so which is and also the straight line from the it was a straight line from the grid, right? The starting grid. It's where you can overtake.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. So I agree with you, and random, I think I agree with you as well. Max needs to commit a borderline war crime, and you wouldn't blame him; it would be justified. So technically, a justified is not a war crime, right? According to the International Court of Justice. Revenge.
Max Verstappen said if we had the McLaren machinery, this championship would have been wrapped up a long time ago. And in Lando Norris, he backfired saying it's just nonsense that what he's saying. This championship would not have been wrapped up a long time ago. Well, it would have. It would have, 100%. It would have.
Would have been done by Baku, maybe. I'm not even downplaying this. I think it would have been done 5-6 races earlier.
Exactly. The car advantage you had, and you're only trying to wrap up the championship on the main race of the second to last race of the penultimate round.
But I will say one thing though. Kudos to Oscar and kudos to Oscar and Lando for actually putting in two very competitive matches. Big up, King. We talk about Oscar and Lando, their flaws and their frailties, and how they don't deserve to be in this position necessarily. And Max would have wrapped it up 5-6 races earlier. I agree with you, but I will give Oscar and Lando some praise today because their laps were mighty. Their laps were mega. They were really pushing the times and pushing beyond the simulation expected lap as well. So kudos to both of them. But you are right. Today, I think if Max Verstappen commits some war crimes, I think it would be war crimes that are justified and ones that are encouraged.
Yeah, and we
I don't want to ignite
the guy
something.
to talk about this.
I don't want to ignite something, but Ranveer, I'm going to mention what you said about Hamilton and Verstappen, like the dirtiness. I want to see what King has to say about that here. So I think he's going to vehemently disagree with you.
Yeah, so basically what I said, yeah, was Max Verstappen, ever since he joined Formula One, he has this nickname of Crash Stappen, where he crashes into opponents. But in my opinion, the things that Hamilton has done is worse than Verstappen on a racetrack. So you look at Silverstone 2021 and what he did to Rosberg and Catalonia in 2016. Because Max Verstappen hasn't gone out maliciously to try and collide into someone to debilitate their car or their ability to drive.
Yeah, I'll just say my position, and I know King obviously is going to run down what he makes of the whole situation here. I do think two things are true. I think the crash stopping thing is way overbloated. I don't think Max Verstappen is nearly as dirty. I don't think he has a worse reputation than almost any of the legends. I think the only one that is cleaner than him is Lewis Hamilton. So King, for all the Max Verstappen glaze that you say I do believe that Lewis Hamilton is a far cleaner driver than Max Verstappen. I don't think that's close, but I do think Max Verstappen's frailties with that shouldn't be a dent on his legacy if we don't accuse Schumacher and Senna, if we don't lower them down as well. But sorry, King, go on.
Floor's yours, bro. Talk about obviously like the sprint race last night, and continue from Augustus, please. So I can't even talk.
No, it's all good. It's all good, man. Apologies for being late.
No,
I was up in the early mornings watching some wrestling.
No, King. I'm actually late. I delayed the stream by an hour 15 minutes. I came home from a football tournament today. I took a nap. I couldn't even stay up.
Oh, fair enough.
You're good.
In regards to the Verstappen thing, listen, him being dirty or not being dirty, that's not an issue to me. I think, as we've talked about, most guys who win a world championship have to be a bit dirty, right? Now, in terms of the cleanest driver, in terms of the legends, you probably look, in terms of drivers that have been multiple world champions who are cleaner than him, you're probably looking at Hamilton and Vettel are the two probably the cleanest.
I'd say Alonso too, and Rosberg.
Alonso's here or there. Alonso, you leave the space, but he never leaves the space, and some of his defending is questionable, especially in recent years. Some of his defending is questionable, but it's not here nor there. As far as Verstappen, I mean, look at this year what he did to George. He pretty much intentionally tried to crash into him. So, I don't really care about that kind of stuff. For me, that mentality of doing whatever it takes to win is what a champion needs, and I feel like that's the kind of mentality that both the McLaren drivers lack in throughout this season. They've both shown it. They've lacked it through the first stint, Lando Norris, and through the second half of the race, Oscar Piastri. And even in this weekend, Lando Norris, when he has the opportunity to kind of end the story, finish it off, he's shown a lack of, killer instinct just to end it, because he's third in sprint qualifying, third in the sprint, and then is now behind Oscar Piastri in qualifying again. If he has any issues during the race, then it's going to be long for him in terms of the final race, because it's so close between him and Oscar. So we don't even know which one of them two are going to win it. And to be honest, Max is right. If it was him in that car, if it was him, if it was the type of drivers that win world championships in that car, in terms of the three man on the grid that have won world championships, and if they got that car, they would have won it already. Lewis would have never given either one of those guys a chance. Alonso definitely wouldn't have. Even at his age, he probably wouldn't have given either one of those guys a chance, especially him. And Max, who is the best right now. So the thing about Lewis and this weekend as well, I don't think he cares. I really don't think he cares anymore. Lewis is the kind of driver that is basically, if I'm not winning, I'm not caring. And I feel like for me, I just don't think he's pushing that Ferrari enough anyway. Like, he knows that Ferrari isn't good enough to win races. So why does he care these last 2 races if he gets points or if he goes past Q1? I don't think he cares that much. In all honesty. Now, either that or he's past his best and he's in his Vettel era. And the Vettel era at the end, Vettel was slow. Every champion has their day, right? We've seen the greatest of Lewis. The greatest of Lewis is to dominate. He dominated for a long period of time. The only time he lost championships was either when a team didn't back him enough, or the driver against him cheated in one way or another. With Rosberg, it was in team fighting. With Verstappen, it was dirty driving. And in his first one, guess who it was? McLaren again, not backing the winning horse. Because after that, obviously it's 2 times champion Alonso, so it makes sense that at that time you've got a world champion and a young upstart, so you don't really want to know who you're gonna back. But it kind of lost you the championship that year to Kimi Räikkönen. So for me, in terms of this season, yeah, Max would have won it already, and yes, I've said it a long time ago that McLaren has, for me, been poor in general. There was a many races where they should be the whole season should have been 1-2 McLaren, if I'm being honest. They've had the best car for most of the part this season. Whether it been their drivers made mistakes, the team has made mistakes especially with their pit stops. The fact that Ferrari is probably the best pit stops in the grid and they aren't, it says a lot to me. Like, you're meant to be, you have this world championship type car and you've messed up pit stops to the point where it's caused arguments between your drivers just because of how bad a pit stop has been. That's a problem. So, in terms of overall, I think this season hasn't been far from perfect. I think it's probably been one of the most annoying seasons to watch in terms of, like, yes, someone should have won the Drivers' Championship with that McLaren car by now, because it's been superior. It's been superior throughout the year. It's not like there was been a point where the Red Bulls or the Mercedes or even the Ferraris have even been close to that car at any point. Maybe specific races, maybe, but apart from that, yeah, nothing for me. So for me, and just all circling back to Ranvir's final point, Max has had a lot more incidents than Lewis in his career. There was a reason he was called Verstappen early on, because the thing about younger drivers, and I think that's the jet drivers of this generation, because the safety protocols are so good and the safety of these cars are so good, they're able to get away with a lot more. If it wasn't for the halo, Lewis Hamilton wouldn't be living today for some of the stuff that Max did to him, especially the one in Italy where he drove over his car. If you actually look at without that halo, he's gone. So Lewis has been in a time period where safety wasn't as a big a deal as it is in the modern car, and that's why you see a lot more crashes and a lot more reckless driving, because the halo and other things are allowing for these cars to be a lot more dangerous in terms of their driving style. Like, if you look at these youngsters, they're reckless. You look at some of these drivers that shouldn't be on the track. Like, if there was a Lance Stroll 10 or even 15 years ago, long day, ambulance around the tracks every week there would be a bad incident. So, and put it this way, some of these older drivers, especially Alonso and Lewis, they've been around the times where there's been times where you had to fuel the car. There's been worse times in terms of safety protocols is so good right now that it allows for more aggressive driving, which I love. I love that. So I don't see a problem with that. I don't see a problem with, obviously, Max is worse than Lewis in aggressiveness, but that's just his style. That's his character. It's the difference between Dutch people and British people in general. British people are sometimes too nice. And that's what I look at in terms of George and Lando, is that sometimes they can be too nice as drivers and they allow for other drivers to roll them over at times just because of that British politeness that they have. So For me, yeah, I agree with Max's statements, but I don't agree that Lewis is worse or more aggressive than Max because that's just who Max is.
To counter your point, that was very well put, African King. Fresh out of bed, and he says that. Well done. Big up the boss of Blue and big up Nicole Singh. So, what I want to say here is, without the halo, Max Verstappen would be alive today because of what Hamilton did to him, the 51 G-force crash, and also, yeah, I completely agree with you. We need that aggressive driving. That's what Formula One.
We're all here to give our opinions. Nobody here is yapping. We're here to give our thoughts on the race, bro. Nobody's yapping. Big up to you.
So this is what we want to see in Formula One. We want to see aggressiveness. We want to see the winning mentality, because some people are just born with it. Lando Norris, I'm reading his biography at the moment. They said he lived a sheltered life, and that he also, this is what rubbed me up the wrong way. Yeah, in summer this year, he said, "I'd rather focus on being a good person, and I'd rather be a good person rather than winning the Formula World Drivers' Championship." Nobody cares about how polite you are off the track. No one cares about that. People look at achievements. People look at the Wikipedia page. 2025 Formula One World Drive Champion. Who was it? They want to see whose name that was. And he said, probably in 30 years, people won't care. Well, people care about Michael Schumacher winning the World Championship in 1995, his second one. People care about Nigel Mansell winning his one in 1992. Just a few examples. So 30 years later, Formula One is a global sport. Formula One, people have been gripped by the sport for decades, since it started in 1950, and people will care. People 100% care. Your dad will care as well. He invested 44 million US dollars into your seat to buy it out from Stoffel Van Dorn. People will care 100%. The global audience will care. The British public will care. And the people who doubted you all season will care 100%. People who call you a crybaby, loser, bad at starts, bottles races, not built to be a Formula 1 world champion. And also, he said there's multiple personalities that can win a Formula 1 world championship. There's not. There's one. The killer instinct, the killer who wins all races, takes advantage of the fastest car and wins races. And that's what he showed in Interlagos and Mexico. But these are the 2 weekends, the most important weekends of his life. I know he won the CIK FIA Karting World Championship. That doesn't matter. Toyota Racing Series, that doesn't matter. Formula 2 now, doesn't matter. Formula 3 doesn't matter. Formula 1 World Championship, you're sitting atop it, and you need to do everything it takes to win. And Max Verstappen, he's in the grid slot directly behind you on the left-hand side of the racetrack, and you got Oscar Piastri on your right. You know, Max Verstappen, you know he's going to try pull the same move that you were too timid to pull off in last year's race, where you were starting P3, evaded George Russell in pole position, and he was alongside Max Verstappen, who's made it from P2 to P1, and he was just too timid to make the corner. Max Verstappen, he ain't going to give you any space in that situation. Max Verstappen, if he goes wheel to wheel, you're off the racetrack, out of the race, DNF. So Max Verstappen, he's going to take everything he can get. He's going to, I think, he said he's got nothing to lose this weekend. And in his interview yesterday, he was trying his hardest not to smile. So he knows what he's going to cook up. He's going to cook up a Senna and Prost on Senna.
Outrageous. We ain't going to talk about the Massa DWC robbery in Brazil. Thanks, team. Oh, Glock. I discount one of his 7. As in, do you think he didn't deserve the? Do you think you think he didn't deserve the championship? Do you think? Sorry, or do you think he deserves the championship?
Yeah, he's saying Hamilton should get one title taken off him. So he said Massa should be a world champion in 2008.
Can we be honest? Massa was never good enough to be a world champion. He was always a sideman, not a main. So I don't know why we cared about that. Like, let's be honest. If let's say if that was true and it was changed at the time, right? Or if it was seen straight away, I think Hamilton would have done anything in his power to still win that championship, regardless. For me,
2021 was still in his hands anyways, bro. You can go back to
yeah, I listen. There's been a lot of controversies in Formula One that's been bad, but yeah. In terms of me saying British people too nice, comparatively to Dutch and German people, yes, British people are nicer in general, and that's That's why I call George and Lando frauds, because they are too nice in terms of they they try and be polite on the track as well. Sometimes when as Ranveer said, you need to have a killer instinct, and a part of a killer instinct is a mentality that you're brought up with. All of these people are brought up with silver spoons. They're all from rich families. They're all from parents that are Carlos Sainz. His dad was a race car driver. Max Verstappen, his dad was a race car driver. The difference, his mentality comes from, first of all, the upbringing and the way they were taught and raised, and what they learned throughout their careers. Now, if you look at the British upbringing compared to Dutch or German, or the way or the style that is brought up, the German people and the Dutch people are brought up to be a lot more fierce than British in general. And that's why you see that Max doesn't care about anything. He doesn't care in personal or in the car. So when people say things, he doesn't care. When it's in the car, he doesn't care. He's going to do whatever it takes to win a race. George or Orlando ain't going to do that. And Oscar Piastri, he's 50-50. I thought he had that mentality, that Australian type mentality, but he's had some races where he's been a bit too weak myself. So it's annoying for me, because I think Oscar should have won this world championship, but he's also let himself down in many races towards the second half of the season. But anyway, in regards to this weekend, Oscar's been the best driver this weekend. I think I don't know how a double DNF gave him a confidence boost, but he looks like a different driver this weekend comparative to previous weeks. Good result for him in the sprint. Obviously, he finished 2 places ahead of Lando, so he reduced the points a little bit.
Maybe it's just his track. Sorry, maybe it's just his track. Like Augustia mentioned last week or last show. Sorry to cut in. Yeah, I just need to say this real quick. The last 2 races that I think they both faced, Lando Norris has fallen to the hands of Oscar Piastri. Into the hands of Oscar Piastri in the last 2 races that they faced in Qatar. And Qatar, in terms of the grip, yeah, it suits Oscar Piastri well in terms of his car, and obviously Lando's car as well, because it is McLaren. McLaren have the best grip. In terms of what we're talking about tires, in terms of the car, McLaren had the best grip of the whole grid. That's the least what Augustia says, and what I also seem to look at from the sprint race as well. You could tell Oscar Piastri just had his car had like a new fresh sort of engine, or like a new sort of upgrade that maybe he made that could have helped him strive this weekend. Cause it just looked like a new rejuvenated car. It just looked like a new car that's ready to win the championship. A car that possibly could be enough to help him get over the line in the next race. Because at the moment now it's like it's still a 22 point gap right between Norris and
he still needs Norris to crash or something.
So yeah, it's still up in the air whether
it's in Norris's hands. It's in Norris's. Listen, if Norris and Oscar finish first 1 and 2 the next 2 races, Norris still wins the world championship. So it's
kind of, just to be fair. It is.
Yeah, the track isn't the greatest, but Middle Eastern America, they pay a lot of money for these tracks, so it is what it is. And in terms of Nick Singh saying disagree, you don't need to be an arsehole to be a champion. Yes, you do. You do. No, you do. You know why? Because you need to have that selfish mentality. Because it's a team game. It's a team game. Obviously, you're 2 cars in the same car, 2 drivers in the same car, but you need to be selfish. An example. I'll talk about even Seb. Yeah, Seb towards the end of the career was this nice guy, but remember the incident with him and Webber, multi 21. Why? What's the difference between him and Webber? Because he didn't care about team orders. He said, "Yeah, I don't care. I don't care." Man was right in the cool down room. Said, "Multi 21, Seb. Multi 21." He didn't give a shit. And I love Seb, and he was nice towards the end of his career. And that's when he was more rubbish, because he was being a bit too cheerful, trying to be everyone's friend and shit. But yeah, for me, that selfish mentality has to happen in order for you to win races, because, and it's especially when it comes to these sports or tennis or golf, or when it's like only one person can be the driver's champion, or the golf champion, or the tennis champion, whatever tournament it is. You have to, because if you don't, and you try and play the team game, or you listen to your engineers, or you just allow them to walk all over you like Leclerc has in recent years, guess what? They're gonna mess you up, because sometimes you know the car and the track better than they do. You're out there sometimes, and sometimes you have to make a decision for yourself. You've seen it in times where Carlos has been leading a race, and Ferrari have told him, "Oh, can you just slow down to help Leclerc?" No, you're inventing. I want to win the race. I'm not going to help you. I'm not going to help my teammate just because he's on weaker tires.
You only help
No,
if you don't have anything to play for. You only help if you
No.
don't have anything to play for.
no, not even that. You don't help at all. I don't care. I don't care what race it is. You win. You go for the win. I don't care if you're in a whatever car you're in. You win. You win the race. Because in the end of the day, your teammates, but in the end of the day, it's you as the individual that gets more points. And the more points you accumulate, the more better you drive in that car, the bigger opportunities you get. If you're Isaac Hadjar, you need to whoop Liam Lawson's ass so that you can get moved up to the main car, the Red Bull car. You need to whoop whoever the second driver is in Red Bull in Yuki Tsunoda to get into the main car, so that you are in a car that possibly can win world championships. That's the mentality you need to have. You need to be only you, regardless of what team you're in. Even if you're in the shittest team, if you're beating your teammate, that gives you an opportunity to get into a better car in the future, because they're going to look at you and they're going to say, "Oh, you're winning on qualifying, you're winning on race day. You may be in a shitter car, but you like an Oliver Behrman, like a Hadjar. These young rookies, you can see the difference between the ones that are going to be up there in the future and the ones aren't. Because it's a mentality. You have to beat your teammate. You have to be the best, regardless of what car you're in. If it's a world championship car, if it's a mid car, because in the end of the day, these points matter. These other teams are looking at you, and in order for you to be a world champion, you have to have an individualistic arsehole mentality in order to win. And all world champions had that. All of them. Michael Schumacher did whatever he needed to do to win. So did Alonso. So did Vettel. So did Lewis at times. So did Lewis was the least out of them, but he still was an arsehole at times. Even when he went up against Max, he did things that a nice kind driver wouldn't do.
I got to take it back.
No.
A lot of things Lewis Hamilton that I disagreed with. The way he crashed into Max, the way he crashed into certain drivers. It was dirty. It was dirty moves on the.
No. Yeah, I've said he's done dirty stuff in the past. I mean, his the year with the year that what's his name, Rosberg won, that was dirty. The year where Max won the last year, there was dirty moments between those two drivers. But that's that mentality to want to win.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between being a multiple champion, a champion of this competition, and being a legend, compared to being a one-time champion, or to be a forgettable champion, or to be not a champion at all. Why? Put it this way: Danny Rick is the greatest what if of a driver that said, "Oh, he should have been a world champion," but why didn't he? Too nice, too happy, too smiley, too jokey, not serious enough. When it came down to the nitty-gritty, he didn't do what was necessary to win. And guess what? 20, 30 years from now, no one's going to remember Danny Rick's name. But who they are going to remember? They're going to remember Vettel. They're going to remember Alonso. They're going to remember... Hell, people even today speak of Kimi Räikkönen and his one world championship. So you're going to be remembered in 40, 50 years' time. If people look at a list of world champions, they're going to see that name. And guess what? They're not going to know. They're going to not know how you won it. They're not going to know if you were nice or not. They're not going to know who you crashed to win a race. They're not going to know what you did, what you said on the interviews. They're just going to see your name multiple times on the sheet. They're not even going to know about the controversies. 2070, no one's going to care about what happened in 2021. They're just going to see Max Verstappen world champion. The Massel incident. They're not going to care. They're just going to see Lewis Hamilton world champion, Sir Lewis Hamilton world champion, 7-time champion, greatest of all time, blah 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 blah. That's what they're going to see. They're not going to. People aren't going to go into into vehement detail on finding out what happened that year, unless they're Formula One super fans in the future. So for me, like good, bad, evil don't matter. Just win. And for Lando and Oscar, it's just win. One of you is going to be in the history books. The other one of you is going to be forgotten about. So you got one race. You got 2 more races to see who does that. And right now, Lando isn't doing enough to do that, as in my opinion. And yeah, but either way, both of them are going to be terrible world champions. Anybody but McLaren. I wish it was Max, because at least with Max, 5-time world champion sounds cool.
You can still win it, bro. You can still win it. There's no.
He's let down by his car. I'll be honest, his car's a bit shit.
But then again, it's a grip, isn't it? And Red Bull don't have the grip of the race come McLaren do. And just to go back into this point here, British people are too nice. Augusti, you and I have this chat all the time about football, standards in football. What do you call? People are too easygoing in football nowadays. Double down on standards. They're not what they used to. They're not what they used to be. They don't like, how do you say it? They don't say it as it is. They just pretend to tell you comforting lies. And that's the thing.
British people are very media influenced. The average British sports fan, I've noticed. I'm not being critical of you personally.
Let me specify. When I say British, I mean what I meant to say was English. Like English. Scottish, Welsh, and Ireland are different. English.
British is
sure, but
sorry, go on. Please.
Yeah, go on.
No, I'm done.
No, I mean, I think we're talking about British people in general. I think the average British person is nicer than the average German and Dutch person. But I also think the average British person is also more of a dickhead than the average German and Dutch person as well. I think there is the duality with Britain. But real quick, I want to go to Nikhil's point about being an asshole and prioritizing yourself. I actually do agree with you, Nikhil. Is it being an asshole, or is it just, it's not being selfish, it's just pursuing your self-interest. There's a difference. And also I would add, you don't need to be an asshole to win a championship. Lionel Messi, Roger Federer, Stephen Curry, I mean, they're at the top of the game. They topped the game without being an asshole. Okay, you can talk about Messi against Holland. Fine. I give you that, but that's in the heat of the moment.
Wait,
as well.
What the names you said again?
Roger Federer.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen Curry.
Yeah.
Lionel Messi.
Are they all assholes? Let's be honest. You may not see it
because they got people around the globe hating on them because of how much they've won, and that's a winning mentality, because they're not going to give anything for free. They're not going to give handouts. They're not going to give up a championship, and they're just going to win.
Okay, King. I want to ask you, what does it mean to be an asshole? Because maybe by your definition they are. I don't think self-interest is being an asshole at all. I mean, Federer and Nadal, both of them, they never threw their racket. They never caused the wreck. They didn't do gamesmanship too much. Ever since they became champions, they really played by the rule books. The difference was they had the killer instinct still. That's what they always had. They had the killer instinct. They had the ability and they had the mentalities to win. That's the difference. They didn't need to be an asshole. But I think with Formula One, in this instance, it's not about being an asshole. For Max Verstappen tonight, he just needs to do whatever it takes to win. All you need to focus on doing is winning, looking forward, not looking behind. If you could be the best version of yourself, you can really win this championship, whichever one of the three that they are. So just stop getting into the drivers, not you guys. I agree with most of what you're saying. Stop getting into the intricacies of it. Stop psychoanalyzing everything. Just focus on optimizing yourself mentally, physically, and tactically. You can win. This is for all three of them, by the way. Because as much as Max Verstappen is the man, he's almost the messiah of this grid at the moment. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, at their pomp, at their peak, they can also win world championships if they can sustain it. But the problem is they don't have the instinct to sustain it, but they can gain that instinct if they wanted to. So I agree with you, Nikhil. It's not selfishness. It's just pursuing your self-interest.
Jensen Button, like Renveer mentioned as well. Difference between being an asshole and prioritizing yourself in your championship fairs. The way the season currently goes, I'm disgusted. I really don't think Lando deserves this. Fair enough on the race wins, but I want to know how was Oscar compensated for his selfishness, or whatever it is. Sorry, I'm having a mare. Is it selfishness? Yeah, it is, but I don't think it makes sense.
Big up Steve. So what I wanted to say, is
Go
you
on.
got Norris and Piastri competing, yeah, and then Piastri's engineer says, "Can you give Norris a toll?" You're giving a Norris a toll to get into Q3 in the heat of the championship battle, and then you're swapping places in the race. A Killer Instinct driver would say, "No, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that," because Formula One is unethical. You're unethical, and there's no morals here because motorsport in general, it's unfair because you got people from different backgrounds, it's not given the same opportunities, not given the same machinery, and not given the same. They're not given the same opportunities to compete in the same tournaments as to what their talent shows because of finances or whatever. So motorsport. So when you get to Formula One, you're either born with it or you're not. You're either born with the killer instinct or you're not. I don't think it's something that can be trained because you need to have. You need to. You need to see red every time you go onto a racetrack because you need to think. I just want to win. I don't want to give handouts. Two number one drivers. Well, I'm the number one driver here. The CEO of my team is just talking rubbish. I'm the number one driver. I need to win because Vettel and Webber, although Webber could pop up with the occasional race when it was Vettel winning most of the time, he won his 4 world championships. People don't remember Webber. Now he's in the equation now, Webber, because Oscar Piastri looks at Mark Webber being in this same kerfuffle of there being 2 evenly matched drivers on paper. But the one that won was not him. It wasn't his manager. It was the guy on the other side of the garage, a German, Sebastian Vettel. So I think he's getting imposter syndrome, and you need to be born with the killer instinct that it takes anything to win, even if you crash, even if your public perception is degraded because of what you do on the track. That's what you have to do. That's what you literally have to do. You need to write your name in history books. And Lando Norris, he hasn't got the kill instinct, and Oscar Piastri doesn't. They're just too nice. And Lando Norris being on the British Vogue cover saying, "I'd rather focus on being a good person than rather be remembered being a racing driver." That's not good enough. He doesn't have the kill instinct, man.
No, I
agree. That's the killer instinct. I think he does. I mean, he's clearly ahead by 20 something points at the moment. I mean, killer instinct. If that's not killer instinct, then I don't know what is. To be fair with you, because look, okay, cool. Maybe you can say there's favoritism here and there. Obviously, that's going to happen in terms of when you have 2 cars and 2 drivers competing for a championship from the same team. Sure, there's going to be favoritism from either side, right? But to say it isn't delivered. I mean, if he's up by 22 points, and that's delivery. That's just delivery. I mean, and at the end of the day, he just needs to head into the final race, being ahead. And he needs to make sure that he has a good qualifier next week. That's it. That's literally all he has to do. Because he could seal the championship today. People forgetting, bro, we're talking about Oscar Piastri. This guy could seal the championship today. If Oscar Piastri gets his DNF, this guy's winning it. It's over. Oscar Piastri is out of it. Because he's already up by 22 points. It's his race to lose. If Lando Norris, it's like he mentioned, it's his race to lose. If Lando Norris does not win today, the championship, he's got next week because he's still ahead on total points. Obviously depending on the DNF or whatnot, right? And if he can go into the final day being ahead on the standings, then it's in his hands. It's in his hands. But to say he hasn't delivered is a bit of a stretch, isn't it? Because obviously, he's still ahead of the standings. So, but yeah, Augusta, you want to say something? I didn't mean to cut you off there.
I agree with you, Ekevin. Mexico and Brazil are the definition. They're the personification of Lando Norris having killer instinct to win a world championship. He completely controlled the entirety of those races. He won by 34 seconds. He dunked 5, 6, 7 tenths on his teammate throughout.
I didn't mean this. I didn't mean disqualify. I meant what you call. Both drivers got disqualified last week, right? But what I was trying to say was that I'm just saying if one of the McLaren drivers get a DNF, they head into the final day being on top of the standings. It's literally anyone's race at the moment. That's what I meant. I didn't mean double disqualification. I'm saying DNF. I'm saying if Oscar Piastri gets a DNF and Lando Norris wins the race, he's the champion. There's no need to hype up the Abu Dhabi race next week. Because it's also in Verstappen's hands as well. People forgetting it's in Verstappen's hands as well. But Verstappen can only win if he rides his luck with the two McLaren drivers. Depending on what happens to the two McLaren drivers, if he can get another luck like last week, if he can get another set of luck like last week, then yeah. But sorry, I guess I continue, bro.
No. I hear you and I agree with you. I will just say about the killer instinct thing real quick, Renvier. Of course, people are born with genetic defects sometimes, and trauma is generational. I get that, but I think this idea and this notion of killer instinct being inherent, I completely disagree with you. Look at Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, for example. Hamilton in the gravel, China, crash stopping in the early days. They were never gifted with the killer instinct. What happened is they were quick learners, and they were very quick with their talent. Their talent blossomed, and they became the best very early on. But this killer instinct is what you develop through experience. You develop through experience. You also develop through training as well. So this killer instinct can be acquired. Now, the difference is not everyone is willing to acquire this killer instinct. That is the big difference here. Not everyone is willing to do whatever it takes to win races, to have that killer instinct. So that's the difference. And I think Lando Norris is case in point. Look at Lando at the start of the season. What was he saying? He was always deflecting. He was always playing into the team's partisan politics here. He was always saying, this person's at fault. The car's not good enough. Blah, blah, blah. He was being a hypocrite. Cognitive dissonance on steroids. Towards the end of the season, Lando's like, no, fuck everything else. Fuck everyone else. I'm going to dictate the fate on my own destiny, and I'm going to win. And of course, in Vegas, once again, in Qatar, he is showing signs of the old Lando Norris. But we have seen that it is in him. Right, he can build it, he can develop it. So, yeah, I agree with you, Ekvin. And Nikhil, what you said about that would be boring. You're right, it would be boring, but you're not playing to be boring. You're playing to be the best. So you do whatever it takes to win. And I don't think that's selfish. I think that's just being in your self-interest.
But yeah, but anyways, guys, I do have to go soon, so I think let's just wrap up our final points because I have to head out in a bit. But what were we saying about the predictions or whatnot? Do you want to get to predictions right now, or do you have anything more to add real quick before we go? Before we go to predictions, I don't want to add anything real quick.
What I want to say is Oscar Piastri winning the first 8 out of 10 races. I think it was.
By the way, everyone say
if he sustained that for the rest of the season, won the World Championship, that shows a killer instinct. But winning 2 races like Interlagos and Mexico City, that doesn't show a killer instinct in my opinion, because you have to sustain it over a period of time. That's a killer instinct on show, and I think it's innate and inherent, because when you win the single seater championships and the karting championships, you have that killer instinct that you don't want to give anything up, and is inherent and innate. And I think it's something to do with the upbringings, because Jos Verstappen, I think he only got 2 podiums in his whole F1 career, and his F1 reputation was tarnished by Michael Schumacher, so he had to find sponsors by himself for his son. Also, Fernando Alonso, he wasn't rich enough to have wet tyres when he was younger in karting, so he had to race slick tyres in the wet races. Lewis Hamilton, he didn't have the most lavish or rich upbringing either. Sebastian Vettel, he won the World Championship, and he had to win because he didn't come from a wealthy background, neither did Kimi Räikkönen, so it's something to do with the background as well.
Yeah, I agree. No, Ranveer, I agree with you in the sense of course, your background is important, but I think killer instinct is something that is acquired and it isn't attained from your birth. But yeah, Kevin, do you want me to give my prediction for this race?
Can I add one thing quickly?
Yeah. Everyone else say all their points, please. I don't want to leave the stream
without. No. I just one last thing.
No, please.
Just one last thing. Maybe arsehole's the wrong word. I just think it's a confidence that maybe borders into arrogance that a driver needs to have, or anyone in sport needs to have in order to win. That's the difference. I think that's what can be acquired. So maybe the a-hole word is probably the wrong word to use. It's just that difference, that kind of Zlatan type confidence where you're so assured of yourself that nothing can phase you, nothing can stop you, and you'll do anything within your power, regardless of what sport you're in, to win. And I think that's something that can be acquired, as Augustia said. But it's very few people can acquire it, and I think I don't know if Lando or Oscar have it. That's my thing. We'll see. We'll see who wins. Who wins the championship in the end. But maybe you can even acquire it from winning your first championship. You can even do that as possible, maybe. But I don't think they have it at the moment. Max does. Lewis had it in the past. Vettel had it. Schumacher had it. So that I think that's the difference. But yeah, that's my last point. And yeah, we can get on with predictions.
Yeah, real quick, can I just
Yes.
piggyback off
Sure.
King? Yeah, King, I wholeheartedly agree with you. And I would go one step further. Is it arrogant if it's accurate? Lewis Hamilton went on Jimmy Kimmel's show a couple years ago before the Vegas Grand Prix, and Jimmy Kimmel asked him, "Do you believe you're the greatest of all time?" And Hamilton's response was, "I know who I am." Djokovic, he gets asked, "Am I the greatest of all time?" He says, "Let the stats speak for themselves."
He says,
So-
I appreciate.
Yeah, exactly. So I agree with you, King. It's confidence. You need the confidence. You need the confidence to act on your own autonomy and
LeBron
authority.
James thinks he is, though. LeBron thinks he's the greatest of all time.
But I think there's a difference between saying it overtly. It's one thing to say it. It's one thing to believe it. And a lot of people who say it sometimes don't believe it. They say it for obviously statesmanship, for sponsors, for show.
They say it for their own personal pride and ego. I mean, sorry to cut in there.
Yeah, exactly. But you most importantly, it's not really what you say to the press. It's what you say to yourself and what you show yourself. So guys like Messi, guys like Michael Jordan, guys like Federer, King, in this instance, you're right. They don't say it publicly, right? Messi doesn't come out publicly and say, "I'm the greatest of all time." Federer doesn't either. Michael Jordan doesn't. But I can guarantee you, I can bet you the lottery, they sure as hell tell themselves that privately. They know it. They know it privately that they are able to dictate games and win games by themselves. So yeah, it's that self-confidence, it's that self-belief that needs to be basically unwavering. And you need that to be a champion.
Ferris, no, I hear it, 100%. But if you're talking about a football club, you have to believe in yourself and everyone around you as well. But that's more of a team game, rather. Football's more of a team game, not an individual game. In terms of like you said, Formula One, yeah, you are racing in your own car, so yes, you have to believe in your own self. As for same for tennis, you have to believe in yourself as well. In individual sports, mostly, in terms of like football, basketball, they're all a team game. So it's hard to really like say, nah, it's more about me. It's more about them. Sorry, it's less about them, more about me. That's more to do with your own ego. When we're talking about believing in the team, yeah, that's a team sport. So yeah, I 100% agree with you, bro. And yeah, Oscar Piastri is definitely definitely has a huge advantage going into the final day. Huge advantage going into the final day for sure. I got some belief turning glass over today. I hope so. Anyways, predictions. I'll start off first. Norris top. I think Norris will win the race. I have a really good feeling something might happen in turn 1 and turn 2. Norris wins. Piastri second, Verstappen third. Outsider to finish in the top 4. Inside in the top 3. George Russell. That's my prediction. I want to spice it up. Just want to give a wild prediction. Not wild prediction, but I want to give a prediction that's out of the ordinary, out of the blue.
Basically, Ekivin, if I can confirm, you believe that Lando Norris will be the Formula One world champion in about 5 hours' time. Because if he wins the race, he wins it today.
Potentially, yeah. Potentially. Because it also depends what happens to Oscar Piastri. If Verstappen
No, Ekivin, if Lando Norris finishes above both Oscar and Max, he wins the championship.
Oh yeah, that is true. Yeah.
It doesn't matter where. If it's 1 to 8, if he finishes above both, he wins.
I believe it today. Yeah, I believe today it is his. Yeah. It's his championship. Yeah.
And I like it. Should I go now? Okay.
Yeah.
I love your optimism. I would love to see Lando winning the championship today or a crazy collision happening. But I just think with the confidence that Oscar Piastri has at this circuit, with the comfortability, high speed, high grip, and obviously he has been dominating Lando Norris almost every single session so far this weekend, I just think Oscar's instincts are far more on it than Lando Norris. I think
Mm.
Oscar is probably going to beat Lando Norris into that turn 1 battle, but the X factor, the GOAT factor, the W factor is Max Verstappen. If you guys saw Max Verstappen's comments, he said he's not disappointed to be third. The other drivers around him should be disappointed they're next to him. He has nothing to lose. That's what he said verbatim. So Max Verstappen today is going to try into probably crash into Lando Norris, if not be ultra aggressive to the sense that we haven't seen it ever before. So I don't want to be boring, but I'll give you 2 predictions. It'll be Oscar, Lando, Max. If they all stay on the grid, it'll be them. Or Max will crash into Lando. And it'll be Oscar and Max staying in.
Outsider?
Ooh, outsider. I probably George Russell, yeah. It's boring, but he's the only one that seems to be clutching them. And the Mercedes have pace, of course. But I'll say this real quick. It's about track position. It's about track position. Whoever comes out of turn 1, whatever the order is out of turn 1, barring any unforced errors, barring any crazy issues in the pit lane, that will be your grid order for the race.
King?
If there's no crashes, Oscar, Lando, and Verstappen. If there is a crash, which I think is going to be probably between Lando and Verstappen, because I think Oscar's going to get a good start and get away. So I think it's going to be between the people behind him. So if it's the people behind him, I think it will be most likely will probably be Oscar, George, Kimi. I think Lando and Verstappen take each other out more than likely. In terms of outsiders, Hadja and Sainz are my 2 outsiders. And shout out to Hadja the Badger.
Rinbeer?
Yeah, we're just going to ignore the fact that Mr. Anybody But Norris is drinking a Lando Norris Monster can. I think that he's going to appreciate that commission going into his bank account. So today, I've got no doubts that Max Verstappen will be leading the race going to turn 1. The question is, though, does he crash into Lando Norris? I think there's been something brewing up in his head. He's trying his hardest not to smile in an interview, and I think he will try his best to take Lando Norris out. Whether his car rebounds into Piastri is another question, but I think he will take out Lando Norris today. He will cause a Lando Norris DNF today, so I think the grid order will be Max Verstappen finishes first, Oscar Piastri finishes second like he does last year, so the P1 and P2 are repeated in the main race last year compared to this year as well. And P3, I think it will be George Russell, and the outsider to finish on the podium is Andrea Antonelli.
Okay. Fair enough. Everyone else, all good?
And don't forget that Lando Norris has to beat Oscar Piastri today by 4 points, and he's the world champion. And he has to beat Max Verstappen by just a single point, and he's the world champion. So, and he's out of the world championship fight
yesterday.
So it's now or never today. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's now. Max Verstappen has to collide into him. He has to cause a DNF because he can't bank on the fact that he's got old engine that got his engine from. He has the same engines as Monza. He can't bank on the fact that he has to do something physically, and he can't bank on the fact that they have a irregular skid wear on the skid plate on the bottom of the car. He can't bank on that. He has to do something himself. He has to take action himself.
Cool. Anyways, guys, we're gonna wrap it up here. Make sure you guys hit the like button on your way out, and make sure you guys subscribe to both the channels. I put the link in the chat. Renbeer Talks Racing and African King Academy. His channel is right there. He's going to be doing some watch-alongs tonight for football. He's going to be doing watch-alongs for, I think, NFL as well. I think you're doing NFL watch-alongs as well later, King, if I'm not mistaken. I think you'll be doing some watch-alongs. And then,
Football coming up. Crystal Palace about to slap up Man United.
Probably.
West Ham about to slap Liverpool, and then hopefully we can get a comfortable win against Arsenal as well. And obviously NFL, Shador Sanders is starting again. Perfect timing and all that. I will be checking out the Formula One, but more important stuff is on TV at the time.
The Eagles.
What about the Eagles?
Nothing. Never mind. Nothing.
I hope the Patriots and Boston Celtics get relegated. Yeah, hold that.
They can't get relegated. There's no such thing as relegation in American sport, my friend.
Also, I was right about Charles. He finished out of top 10, so I'm Mystic Mac.
Man says,
Yo, keep fishing, King. We love it, man. Keep
Oh, that
fishing.
was great. That was a great day. I'm gonna-
world champion races race. Yeah, exactly. Anyways, relegation or whatnot.
Anyway,
We'll
I'm done.
be back. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Enjoy the race. I got some news. Official contract talks reported. If you know, I don't know.
Is that Hadjar to Red Bull?
Sorry?
Nah, he's talking about
Hadjar
something
to
else.
Red Bull. Or Lindblad to
You're a
Racing
fool,
Bulls.
Boss of Blue. You're a fool, Boss of Blue.
But anyways, people, take care. Enjoy the sports tonight. Enjoy everything else. Peace, love, and guidance. Have a great rest
See you
of your
around.
day. Good rest of your day. Excuse me. Peace. Take